of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, and I'm joined by Bob Savage.
Hello, and hello, everyone.
Howdy. All right, so welcome to this sweltering Friday.
Yeah, really.
My goodness.
What are you doing? You're opening up a case of beer there? It sounded like a little noise. Maybe you're cracking a cold one? No?
Do a little ASMR there.
I
got a soda stream.
Very realistic.
Oh, it was. I have a soda stream bottle right in front of me, and I opened it up because on Tuesday's show, I thought I was going to pass out. I made a mistake of doing the show, not getting any water, and I was like, oh man, I'm fading. I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I was having a bad time.
In this weather, you got to have plenty of fluids in the studio. It's interesting, though. I do not do well with carbonated beverages, I have to say, when I'm on the air. No. I tend to get a little, noisy, and it doesn't sound great on the radio.
Yeah, I have not yet burped into the mic. It hasn't happened yet. Now, I'm knock on wood. I want to jinx myself now, but I haven't done it yet.
So how do you like that soda stream thing? Is that pretty good?
Yeah, I like it. It's been nice. I don't have to carry the cases around and everything now. It's been a good time. You just make as much as you want, nice and easy. Although I do miss. I'm such a millennial. I know I'm a millennial. I love carbonated water. I love all the Wegmans flavors that you can get out there, and I do miss that a little bit. But without going to the store as much, this has been very convenient. Lasts like a month.
I didn't know
canister.
that was a millennial thing. Carbonated, flavored carbonated drinks.
It's totally a millennial thing. I don't know why. I know like some older people do, but it's just, I think like a lot of us were like, I don't want to drink like these sugary drinks all the time. Like I used to drink like 6 Pepsis a day, no joke.
Wow.
And that wasn't healthy, so I stopped that. But I like the carbonation, so I switched over to carbonated water.
Well, I just have to point this out to the audio radiance out there. Kevin Wilson has something in common with President Trump here, because President Trump drinks like a bazillion Diet Cokes a day.
Yeah. Although that was totally me for a little bit. But I mean, Pepsi was my drink, but it's whatever. I know, not the same thing that the Pepsi and Coke drinkers, but
no. Don't you blaspheme in here. Thank you, Aretha Franklin.
I felt very strongly about my cola preference for a very long time. Now I'm like, whatever. It's all cola. Whatever. Who cares?
So here we are. It's Friday. We made it through another week, more or less. And an eventful one it was.
Sure was. Well, all sorts of stuff going on. We have, the thing that caught my attention this week, that it's kind of gotten subsumed where you are, depending on what it is. Like the heat wave's a story, cancel culture's a story, on Twitter at least, nowhere else, mostly on Twitter. And the Supreme Court issued a bunch of decisions this week, one of which... several which caught my attention. I feel like the one that everyone wants to talk about is the Trump tax return thing. Did you catch any of that, Bob?
I did.
Yeah. So the tax return thing, because everyone's either declaring victory or defeat depending on where they are. Like the two that really interest me are the birth control ones and the Oklahoma one, which is what I titled this show.
Right. Yeah. Oklahoma's gone back to the Indians.
It sure has. So let's talk about that one real quick, because I think that one's like more significant. And so that one was a 5-4 ruling, and basically, so Oklahoma, for those of you who remember your history, was kind of given over to the Native Americans who were forced out of different parts of the South in the Trail of Tears, and Oklahoma was supposed to be the Indian Territory, where that was supposed to be their protected land.
Yes, thank you,
Right, so
Andrew,
that was,
President Andrew Jackson, by the way. I tossed
yep,
that in there. Mr.
yeah, that's right.
Trailatiers.
Yep, Andrew Jackson, the first Democratic president who did that. So he forced everyone out, forced all of the Native Americans out from the South. They were forced to march over to Oklahoma, where Trail of Tears is, and then they were supposed to be given sovereign territory. Now, that didn't end up quite sticking around as much as the territory seemed to imply. I mean, that's unfortunately pretty common throughout the history of the United States, is taking back these treaties. So this Supreme Court case went to, well, it ends up reinstating that treaty, saying that the territorial reservations in Oklahoma, which is most of the eastern half of Oklahoma, are once again sovereign tribal land.
Yeah, I think it's about 60% of the landmass of the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, so they now, instead of falling under the state of Oklahoma regulations in all of those areas, and it includes part of Tulsa, from what I understand too, and so instead of falling under the state regulations for crimes, for alcohol, for casinos, for a whole number of other things, they are all quasi-independent. Now, they still have to follow the federal government laws, and I don't know if like the states actually being split or how this is going to work for presidential elections or anything like that, and the extent to which sovereignty, impacts the people who are living in that area, who are not all Native American. They're not all the descendants of these tribes in Oklahoma. They're people who've kind of moved in and out over the years, right? So what does that mean for them? And it's going to be interesting because now we have a significant shift in governing structure in this area. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's probably going to follow, I would imagine, on the on the model of what's happening in New York State and other states where there have been significant Native American populations. There will be some negotiation that will be made with the state government, which will restore certain land rights, but preserve land rights for innocent persons who, for example, who own property or own businesses in what is now Indian Territory.
Yeah, right. And this is, fascinating again, because this is something that goes back well over 100 years. And so, how do you readjust for all of the property rights that have shifted in the meantime in relation to kind of the seizure of land and the sale of land, oftentimes legitimately in these areas over the past several decades?
Well, there's a couple of legal approaches on this whole thing. One is, of course, judicial, which is kind of the that has happened on numerous occasions, though not universally in New York State. The other would be legislative, where Congress would get involved somehow, and this is going to be a hot button issue. As I would imagine, the state and federal governments would want to toss this hot potato back and forth politically. But obviously, there's going to have to be some resolution of this. I think it's going to probably kind of come down to money.
Probably, as it often does. And of course, this the person swinging the decision in this case was Justice Neil Gorsuch, the Trump-appointed Supreme Court justice, and his whole thing is ruling on the rule of law for this, though, which I think is really interesting, that the U.S. federal government cannot break promises that it had. And so I'm curious, not just, the logistics of what does this mean for the people living there, but also what does this mean for other promises that the U.S. government made and didn't fulfill? Does this set any precedent for other cases where we have to kind of go back and re-examine some of these, treaties that are 200, 150, 100 years old? And I don't know. I don't know what happens.
Well,
it's going to be
bet on our very inventive and alert and meddlesome legal fraternity to try to cook something up. Listen, if there's billable hours there, they're going to find a way to dig this up and extend it. So yeah, it's going to set a precedent, I think.
So, somehow this is going to be expensive. as it often is. And that's what we'll do. All right, so we'll talk about a couple of the other Supreme Court cases that came down. The birth control case coming up next here on Radio Free New York. We'll talk to you again in a few minutes.
Yeah, we thank you very much for joining us for Radio Free New York this Friday. Kevin Wilson and yours truly, and hello to our friends along the network line in Wayne County, New York, listening to WACK, and in the Twin Tiers of New York and Northern Pennsylvania, the Patriots, WENY, Elmira, Corning, Big Flats, and Tioga, PA will be back.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Catch a wave at Waldameer.
Waldameer is now open daily. However, due to COVID-19 restrictions, Waldameer is limited to 50% capacity, so they're sorry, but there will be no free admission. Guests must purchase admission tickets in advance at waldameer.com. No tickets will be sold at the park. Children under 1 are free. Waldameer has taken steps to comply with the COVID-19 state regulations to keep guests safe. Therefore, masks will be required in the amusement park. Waterworld opens at 11 a.m. with the incredible new 6-lane Rally Racer water slide, and Waldameer opens at noon with the exciting new Whirlwind spinning family coaster. So let's celebrate going green. Visit waldameer.com. Purchase your admission tickets and get outside and play.
Catch a wave, catch a day at Waldameer. Your wet and wild summer getaway. Excitement waits for you at Waldameer. Waldameer in Erie, PA.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Bob Savage.
Hello all.
And WISL.
You can listen to this radio program without a mask. It is permitted.
It's allowed. I mean, if you want to wear a mask, list this in your own home. Like, that's your business, but you're going to look a bit silly.
Not required. Nope.
Not required.
It's a big tent here. It's a mask-free zone on this radio show.
Oh, goodness. All right.
What, you got a belt sander running in your studio there? What's the...
No, I got a fan running,
Boy, you
which
do.
I've turned off so I don't sweat to death in here.
It was sucking the headphones off my head.
Yeah. Oh, my apologies for doing that. But anyhow, I want to talk about a couple of the other Supreme Court decisions that are coming out. Talk about the Oklahoma one, and thanks everyone for the comments in there. You know, Ilya had said that the state was basically already split anyway. This is just acknowledging the reality of the political situation that was already there.
Really, I didn't know that that was a big political issue in Oklahoma.
Yeah, so I'm not one to know a ton about Oklahoma politics, but apparently this has been kind of a contentious issue for a while, and the reason the court case came to a head anyway is because the state of Oklahoma had sentenced someone for it's like a very long time. I think it was like 1,000 years for a number of crimes, and he was claiming sovereignty that he was should have been under tribal law instead of the state law. So apparently it's a thing there. It's been a thing for a while.
I would say that
as I'm reading more about it,
much in the same way, in the style of New York State, I think you're probably going to have tribal, tribunals, courts who are going to adjudicate at least minor criminal issues and probably property disputes and that kind of thing. Similar to what's going on in New York. Although I don't think, since Oklahoma hasn't been blessed with a governor like Andy Cuomo, that sections of interstates are going to be, basically allowed to return to a state of nature to try to teach them a lesson over something like casino revenues.
yeah, right. No, it's the fights going on in New York State are also fascinating. Again, over sovereignty, over who pays for stuff, over who maintains parts of infrastructure. And the fights over parts of the thruway have been wild. And I'm sympathetic because I like the idea of self governance, right? We talk about that all the time in the show. I like the idea that like people should be able to get together and make laws that make sense within, the cultures and desires of the people there, as long as you're kind of following a general broad set of rules, right? Like still murder's got to be a thing, theft's got to be a thing, things like that.
Constitution's got to be a thing.
Constitution's got to be a thing. Yeah, sure. It's a broad set of rules. I'm fine. But, we talk about that in New York State all the time, even regardless of the context of the Native American sovereignty, which is its own special set of issues, but also, like county sovereignty as well. Like how can counties be more independent to help meet the needs of the people living there, the unique circumstances in which they're trying to thrive in an environment where New York State often is crushing small businesses and communities with overbearing regulations that come out of people from downstate who don't know the conditions here.
Yep, top down, not good. We like it. We like to keep our government close. It's like keeping your friends close and your enemies closer. Don't take that the wrong way, government people.
Yes, nothing personal. We just want to be able to live our lives without you, destroying our businesses and our communities. That's all. Is that too much to ask? I don't feel like that's too much to ask.
No, I don't think so. It's kind of a libertarian thing to say. We want, we want to have a government that is closer to us and more accessible, and hence more responsive. That's the idea. See, the Europeans made this discovery. They've got a real problem because they gave all of the political power to a bunch of suits in The Hague, and that hasn't worked out real well for them.
Yeah. Oh, that's, the European situation is interesting because it's kind of breaking down. And, I like the concept of like a European project a little bit. Not that I have anything to do with that. I'm not over in Europe, who cares what I think. But, I think like the trade agreements seem good. But then they're trying, as they expanded from trade agreements into like micromanaging regulations and labor and products and all this other stuff, as it kind of started building and building and building, people were like, wait, we didn't sign up for this. We just wanted to be able to trade with other countries without it being a big deal. We just want to be able to move around without it being a big deal and travel without, having to go through a whole rigmarole. We didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, maybe have one currency that, a lot of these countries they've got over there, they're about the size of a lady's wristwatch. They're issuing their own currency, and that makes for a lot of confusion at the bank. But isn't that funny how that happens, though, Kevin? I mean, whenever you create government, for some reason, those governments always want to accumulate more power and more control. It's just kind of like this natural thing. It's like metal rusting,
Yeah, it's like the governments can't help themselves. There's always the mission creep. It always goes beyond what you initially ask and what you initially expect. And suddenly you're like, wait, how did we get here? How did we get to this process where now government is regulating every single aspect of my life? I just want to go and do what I want to do as long as I'm not hurting people or taking their stuff.
Yeah, the devil takes over the proceedings every time you hear the phrase, there ought to be a law.
Yep, and remember, every time there ought to be a law, that is a threat of violence. And I'll say that over and over again. That is what it is. That's what the law does. It's government using force or the threat of force against you. Oh goodness, I feel like we got on a nice tangent here. I appreciate the tangent.
That was interesting.
Yeah, no, that's
if I do say so ourselves.
Yeah, so we'll pat ourselves on the back. Thank goodness. I feel like we're biased. We're going to make interesting radio and, pat ourselves on the back for how awesome we are. That's how it goes. Anyhow.
This is why radio people have such huge egos, see, because we have to, we never see our audience. So what we have to do is we have to supply our own positive, response. So, that's why we sit in the studio here and go, oh, that was pretty darn good.
Well, see, but I get the pleasure of seeing the comments, so only occasionally do I get to see the boos coming in at me. That's only every once in a while.
I'm not looking. How are we doing so far?
Oh, so far it's fine. People are commenting politely on the topics at hand. So that's great. Just talking about, independence and the Oklahoma comment. Again, I appreciate that. And comments on the heat, too.
Yeah. That's hey, listen, folks, keep the comments coming. Tell us how great we are. And, if you don't like what you're hearing, keep it to yourself. Okay?
There we go. And, of course, if you want to call in and participate in the discussion, give us a call at 585-346-3000. I don't have the 800 number in front of me. Bob, what's another way people can participate in the conversation?
Why, that number's 866-552-1009. You do not have to have a mask on to call.
You don't. In fact, it's probably helpful if you don't. When you're on the phone, it sounds like...
That's right. All about clarity.
Yeah. I've had to talk on the phone with a mask on before, and they're like, Kevin, I have no idea what you're saying. Just go step outside somewhere. Trying to talk on the store and be rude like that.
Yeah. So back to SCOTUS, though. We were going to talk about the abortion case.
I was going to talk about the religious freedom for employers.
Oh, okay. Right? I'm sorry.
Was there an abortion case too?
Follow your lead.
I don't. I'm losing track. A whole bunch of stuff came. Was there an abortion case too?
Well, yeah, it had to do with the abortion. The clinic. And the attending rights for the physician. But that was a couple of weeks ago. I think that's been probably pretty well chewed up.
But that feels like an eternity ago. But, I'll have to look that one up because I missed that. I do remember that coming out now, but we never talked about it.
Yeah, this is new for me being in here on Friday, so I'm still learning the ropes. So strike what I said about the abortion case. What was the SCOTUS case that you were interested in?
So the one I was talking about is Hosanna Tabor Evangelical Lutheran Church and School versus Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. That was the other one. This one was Lady of Guadalupe School versus Morrissey Beru, and that one was saying that it was about employment discrimination claims filed on behalf of a couple of Catholic teachers who alleged that they were fired for reasons of health and age, this was basically the justices said that there was an exception for this to anti-discrimination law because of the religious nature of the institutions that they're doing. So this may have all sorts of other interesting implications for things like employers having to provide birth control for their employees, right? So right now, that's
if it violates their religious convictions, so that would be a First Amendment issue.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what the question is, and why I end up relating it to birth control. A lot of people are talking about that in that regard, is because if you no longer have to provide that because you are able to get a religious exemption, then a lot of people will lose birth control coverage, right? And that's the concern you're hearing from the progressive left, like, oh my goodness, these conservatives are taking away our birth control, all that stuff. To me, again, I kind of agree. Like you shouldn't be obliged to have to pay for this stuff. Again, and maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's a great benefit, but maybe if it violates your religious conscience, I don't think that you have any positive obligation to provide specific medical coverage in this case. And the solution to that isn't more government. It isn't fixing it. It's opening up the free markets. And I'll talk about that coming up here after the break here on Radio Free New York.
than twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. Partly cloudy skies, very muggy out there in the 70s. Small chance of a shower or thunderstorm. As we look ahead to Saturday, very muggy day. Cooler, staying in the 80s, and it'll be an increasing threat for showers and thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon. On Sunday, partly cloudy, chance of a shower or thunderstorm, but mainly rain-free in the low 80s. I'm Rich Cadelia, WYSL.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whenever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Hi, Tom Hamilton here, President of Hamilton Wealth Management. This whole COVID-19 situation can really kick us hard when we're already down. I've been a financial advisor for nearly a quarter century, and I have to say this is the most difficult economic crisis I've ever seen. But how do you think Americans felt during the Depression, during the two world wars, when the financial markets collapsed in 2008? I can tell you how they felt. They were devastated and felt hopeless, just how we feel now. But you know what? Each time when the future looked so bleak, America recovered, the world recovered, and I have to add, the markets recovered. I believe with all my being that America will come back from this too. Don't let the spreaders of fear and hopelessness turn us against each other. Help any business you can in the local community. They've been there for us for a long time. We want them back when this is over. Let's look out for each other. That's not the government's job, and they would most certainly screw it up if it was. It's up to me, to you, to all of us, to help each other through this. Get back to work when you can, and let's beat this thing.
Because your future is worth it. MGM Associates Insurance. Proudly serving the region since 1984, MGM can meet your coverage needs, ranging from home, condo, and auto, all the way to specialized policies for business, workers' comp, to limo and taxi insurance, and coverage for tech professionals like IT specialists. They can also help lead you through the confusing maze in the new world of health insurance coverage and options. MGM Associates is large enough to serve you, but small enough to care, so you don't have to wait in line on some 800 number to get prompt personal attention. MGM Associates is the only winner of the National Best Practices Award 5 times in a row. MGM is proud to support veterans groups, including Heroes Home Advantage. For your personal, business, home, or professional insurance needs, put the experience of MGM Associates Insurance on your team. Locally and proudly owned at 1745 Penfield Road in Penfield. 381-7008 or mgminsure.com, an associate of Finger Lakes Fire and Casualty, Route 227 in Trumansburg, New York.
Show World. Show World. Mount Read, Henrietta, Waterloo. 8 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Saturday. Sunday, 12 to 12. 1-2-1-2 open. Welcome in. We're open up. DVDs, magazines, incense, water pipes, adult products, lingerie.
Show World now open.
I am going to take you down.
Not unless I level up first. Hi, honey. You're on speaker.
Honey, we need help. The kitchen sink is backed up again.
Call Taylor, 500-HELP.
Tony says call Taylor, 500-HELP.
Taylor should we call for heating and cooling help? We need a plumber.
Taylor can help with that, too. Heating, cooling, plumbing. Call 500-HELP.
Tony, I don't know what I'd do without you.
Thanks for getting me in the hot water, pal.
Hey, what are friends for?
Call Taylor, 500-HELP.
Flower City Collision in Henrietta is your hometown body shop. Flower City works with all major insurance companies, repairing your vehicle back to pre-accident condition. Finest craftsmanship using PPG products. Get it done right. Visit flowercitycollision.com.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today, joined by Bob Savage, who's at the WYSL studio. And guys, I have to issue a correction. I mixed up the court cases. My browser closed. It decided to get all buggy on me. And
sure, you're going to blame it on your computer now. Sure.
I totally am. So I conflated two cases in my mind. There was that other case that we talked about, and then there's Trump v. Pennsylvania, and that was the one for the birth control case. So that was the one that basically said businesses don't have to supply birth control
if it violates a religious, it's the Hobby Lobby issue, basically.
Yeah, right. So that's and the interesting thing here is, again, as I started to mention before the last break, the solution to me isn't to compel employers to provide birth control or any other thing that violates their conscience. It's to make it easier and possible for people to make their own decisions on that with their own money, right? Birth control is very difficult to buy over the counter in a lot of places.
Really?
Yeah. No, it is without a prescription, right? Which you have to go to a doctor, have a doctor's visit. That's going to cost you some money, unless you go to a clinic where they're able to do that for free. Instead,
isn't there like a family planning aisle in every CVS and Walgreens?
Yeah. So if you want birth control pills, right? So if you want that, in a lot of places you have to go and get a prescription for it.
Yeah. Birth control pills are not the only option.
You're right. They aren't. That's just the option that people want their employers to pay for. You can get other contraceptives. It's true. You have options. And again, that's the beauty of the free market, is whatever options work for you. And with birth control pills, again, most of the time, a consultation with a pharmacist is adequate as long as you're providing good information. It's relatively safe, and there should be more options for women to be able to use that birth control option over the counter. So that's my more libertarian solution to that, is we don't need to compel employers to pay for this. We create artificial barriers to access health care that are created by regulations, oftentimes with good intent, but with bad consequences, that limit people's ability to be able to access healthcare and make healthcare decisions for themselves without jumping through a bunch of expensive hoops. And we're setting up. It's interesting to watch, just kind of broadening out a little bit. We're seeing more people be able to access telemedicine right now. That enables you to less expensively go and talk with a doctor. We're seeing clinics being set up in Walmart. We're seeing people be able to make more decisions about the type of stuff that they put into their body and the type of healthcare decisions they want to make on their own. And I think that's a good thing. I think limiting the barriers to being able to access your own health medical information, to being able to access medicine, and to being able to speak with a medical professional when you need to is a good thing. It's so silly to me that before this pandemic, it was very, very difficult to access telemedicine service. And that's a barrier that I'm hoping comes down permanently. And I think in the same vein, again, with this type of stuff, if progressives care about getting access to this particular type of birth control, and they say that's safe and all that, okay, great. Then let people do it. Oftentimes, it's progressive governments who are creating the barriers to accessing these supplies and services in the first place.
Yeah, isn't that the funny thing? More government almost inevitably translates to fewer freedoms. Because we have to protect you from yourself, because we have to justify our existence, because we have to justify the existence of a large, cumbersome, expensive bureaucracy. And the jobs that this bureaucracy does, they can be better performed by individuals.
Exactly. And oftentimes it's done in the name of protecting vulnerable groups, but the actual results of that are that these vulnerable groups have more barriers to being able to access the services that they need. It's done with the intention to help, and I will give them the good intentions of this for now. I'll give that to you guys. There you go. Have it. But the actual outcomes are that the groups that they're trying to protect, the marginalized, women, and other groups without resources, you're making it harder for them. Make it easier for people to access healthcare instead of creating this bureaucratic mess. I mean, that's the whole ACA in a nutshell, right? It's bureaucratic mess driving everyone into these complex, massive insurance systems that don't necessarily serve the best interests of the people in them. You know, when libertarians and a lot of conservatives talk about expanding access to healthcare, we talk about expanding access to actual healthcare, not the bureaucratic systems of top-down, state-controlled messes that end up being expensive to society as a whole, and oftentimes expensive to the end user too.
Well, yeah, this points out the dichotomy between. There's two separate issues that go on here that get conflated, thanks to the ACA, also known as Obamacare, and particularly in the blue states such as New York. And that is, on the one hand, you have coverage, you have insurance coverage, and on the other hand, you have health care. Two separate issues. And all the ACA does is guarantee that you have access to some piece of plastic in your wallet that assures you of some kind of some kind of access. What does it give you access to? That's the major issue.
It's a different issue, and in fact, it doesn't even ensure you have access to health care. It just punishes you if you don't buy insurance. That's what it does.
Right.
That's the point. So if you don't have insurance, you have to pay a tax penalty to do it. That's the crux of Obamacare. And, again, with these issues, I want to say that they're well-intentioned. Good intentions of making sure people have health insurance coverage doesn't matter. What we look at the outcomes. Are people able to access healthcare effectively? Is healthcare affordable? And are the systems that we have in place to get people access to healthcare making sense, or are they driving up costs and limiting access? And Obamacare did that. It made a system that was already a mess even worse.
And by the way, a system that most Americans were perfectly fine with. I think that the healthcare system, the surveys back in 2013, prior to the imposition of Obamacare, and those ridiculous websites, remember how much those things cost?
Oh, yeah.
86% of Americans were perfectly fine with the existing healthcare. And our healthcare system was the envy of the world. Now, not so much. And not that this wasn't widely predicted back during the time.
Absolutely. All right, and it sounds like we got a caller on the line. Dave from Rochester. Dave, what's on your mind?
Hey, changing channels a little, but somewhat timely. I want to hear your guys' perspective on New York State's fireworks laws, because they were totally illegal when I was a kid, and now Walmart sells certain things. But as you're quite aware, that the whole nation went crazy with the good ones, including myself. So I just want to sit back and listen to your guys' perspective on that.
Okay.
Love it. Yeah,
all right.
Thanks for your question, Dave.
You want to go first there, Andrew? I'm Andrew. Kevin,
whatever my name is.
Force of habit. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, it was interesting because we're getting actually proposals from Monroe County legislators and city council members to restrict fireworks even more. And I think Andrew and I talked about this on Tuesday a little bit, that even the small fireworks they sell in the Walmart parking lot are too much. I know I'm kind of an advocate. I think for the most part, we should be able to buy fireworks. I get why fireworks can be disturbing and why they can be upsetting to folks. I live in the city. When I was hearing booms for hours on end on 4th of July, I kind of know what to expect. I get why a lot of people don't like that. But to me, I err on the side of, if we make fireworks more illegal, it's going to end up causing greater problems. We'll still have a black market for fireworks. People will still be able to access that stuff. And it's not going to fundamentally change the situation that people think that they're addressing.
Well, best predictor of the future is the past. What's going on now? I have a mother-in-law who lives in downtown Rochester, and the fireworks are extremely disturbing, and they're constant. And not just on the 4th of July. This has been going on for weeks. Every night. There's not pouring rain. There's this constant barrage of fireworks. I can't take the dog down to her house these days at night because she's so terrified of all the fireworks all the time. And so what is the status of fireworks sale and possession in Monroe County right now. For the most part, they're illegal. I mean, you can get some of these, crown display type things at Walmart, like you say, or at the gas station or the convenience store. But still in all, it's primarily illegal, and it hasn't stopped anything about the fireworks. So fireworks laws, I would say that's the Monroe County Legislature doing a little window dressing and just kind of, virtue signaling. We're doing something about the fireworks problem in the city of Rochester.
They want to look like they're doing something, which is what politicians are very, very good at.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Coming up next, we'll talk Fake News Friday. Round out the week. You're on Radio Free New York. Talk to you in a few.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
It's Fake News Friday! Yay!
Woo! Fake News Friday. Welcome back, everyone, to Radio Free New York. Kevin Wilson hosts today, joined by Bob Savage for this Fake News Friday. I got an interesting one for you.
Sure.
All right. Well, they're all interesting.
Yeah.
All interesting.
We make them interesting. That's our job, man.
All right. So, in another sign that 2020 is the year that society collapses as we know it, Merriam-Webster has added a forbidden and irritating word to its dictionary.
Democrats?
No. That's a long time coming. We knew that for a while. Irregardless.
Irregardless. Oh, no. No way.
Irregardless. Is that now a new word in the dictionary recognized by Merriam-Webster and a sign that language itself doesn't even matter anymore? we're on the verge of societal collapse.
Well, I'm
Bob,
very sorry to say
is that
this.
real news?
Well, I mean, I don't want it to be real, but I suspect it's probably real.
So it is real that irregardless is in the dictionary, but it has in fact been in Merriam-Webster's dictionary since 1934. It has been around for quite a while, but people are calling attention to it. Irregardless, it is, yeah. So I didn't believe it too because I saw that too. I was like, that's not a real word. Stop
It's been in
guys.
the dictionary since Joe Biden was 17? Really?
Yeah.
Who knew?
Exactly.
Amazing.
So yeah, no, that's what I learned. So apparently it's a real word. You can use it. They list it as non-standard, but
or ungrammatical,
yeah,
non-existent. But yeah, okay, yeah. Irregardless, well, that's a sign of great a great command of the English language. So I got one for you.
Right.
So were you done with that one?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so forgive me, folks. This is the first time I've done Fake News Friday in a long time. Okay, proposed policy platform for the Democrat Party includes a provision which would give asylum to all the world's migrants. We're talking 160 million migrants around the world. Come on, move into the U.S., live here, and while you're here, we'll figure out whether you've got a legitimate claim for amnesty or whatever. 160 million of you. Come on in. True or false?
I mean, that sounds like something that's going to be clickbaity. It sounds like something someone shared just to get a rise out of folks. I'm going to say it's fake news.
Fake news. No, it's real. Proposed policy platform for the Democrat Party, drafted by supporters of presumed Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden. Also, Senator Bernie Sanders would give asylum to all the world's migrants, inviting them all to the U.S. to live and work. It's a document known as the Biden-Sanders Unity Task Force Recommendations, providing amnesty and a pathway to U.S. citizenship. First of all, to the 11 to 22 million illegal aliens living in the country. Now, there's a scary thing right there. I mean, if the Democrats are estimating it's 11 to 22 million, good Lord, how many are there? The proposed Democrat reform platform would expand asylum for migrants arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border, freeing them into the interior of the nation while they await their hearings. How long will 11 million hearings take? I'm thinking like the far side of never.
Yeah, that's going to be a while. I mean, the name and the commission the task force sounds so legit. I could see how you could be fooled, but fake news. Got to be fake news. All right, so this one it's not. I just kind of want to open up for discussion because it's something I saw a bunch of conservatives do, and I saw a bunch of people saying that the Frederick Douglass statue in Rochester was torn down by Antifa and BLM, and it just started going everywhere, and it confused me a bit because I'm like, well, I don't know that was the case. It was torn down over 4th of July weekend. We were talking about fireworks. People in Rochester definitely love their fireworks, just like everywhere else. The fingers of the statue are blown off. The statue had toppled over. And then it was moved over to behind a fence, right?
Yeah, remember he was thinking they were trying to throw it in the gorge, the Genesee Gorge at Maplewood Park.
Yeah. And so, awful thing, terrible thing, and obviously I don't support that. And if you're not familiar with these statues too, by the way, they're not like big bronze solid metal statues. They're like a durable like plaster type of thing. So like they're a bit more fragile than you think. But, I saw like these viral news stories about how BLM destroyed another statue in their rally. And like, that's not how that happened. And, I just want to bring it up to hear your thoughts on this. Because to me, it's just a little tiny bit of news literacy. It feels truthy. It feels like it meets a narrative that Antifa and BLM are tearing down all these statues. And we've talked about the statues thing before. And I don't generally agree with tearing down a lot of statues that have been targeted, like the Abraham Lincoln one. That's ridiculous. A few of them, okay, I'm open to a discussion for like maybe the taxpayers shouldn't be paying for this type of thing, even though I think tearing it down is quite the way to go. But this thing, it spun out of control, and he met this narrative that felt convenient for folks. And it might be true, but it doesn't seem like there's any evidence that BLM or Antifa tore down the Frederick Douglass statue, and people were like, oh, they tore him down because he's a Republican. I'm like, I don't know. Where are you getting this evidence from? So Bob, I want to ask you what you think, like, from like a news literacy perspective, like what's going on here, and what are your thoughts on that?
Okay,
or do you think I'm totally off base?
Going a little far afield here from Fake News Friday, but let me just point out something here. I think we need to check the Merriam-Webster dictionary to find out if truthy's in there, because I heard you use the word truthy.
Oh,
I like
truthiness.
that. Truthiness.
Oh, it's totally a word. It's Stephen Colbert made it up, actually, and it's for things that seem true and you want to be true but aren't. Like there's an essence of this could totally be real, which is I like truthiness infuses the stories I pick for Fake News Friday.
Well, that's good, because that's a good it's a good adjunct to Fake News Friday. I've covered this story on morning news on the flagship station here on the network all this week. The Frederick Douglass statue, it was torn down. Nobody knows who tore it down at this point. There's an investigation continuing. I have not heard any reports that BLM, Antifa, or any other political organization had anything to do with it. I think it probably was some ignorant people, kids or whoever, or just garden variety vandals just tore it down because it's a statue of an old guy, and maybe these people are not bright enough to realize who Frederick Douglass was and what he represented, even though there's a nearby placard that explains all that, by the way. No, I just think it was, tear down culture and people just, raising hell.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I thought too. It's like people, it's disrespectful, it's awful, it's a terrible thing, and I brought it up on Fake News Friday because it's been something I've been thinking about this week. Just, it's one of those stories that once it started to go viral, everyone kind of starts self-referencing each other of like, no, this other story said that this was who tore it down, and like, why don't you recognize that? I'm like, yeah, but okay, let's dig into it. What's the next thing? And so on this show, I want, and part of what I want to do with Fake News Friday is like to get folks to think about like, all right, what's real, what's not. The world's so ridiculous, it's very hard to tell sometimes. Like with the story you did, like that's plausible, right? Like that could happen, but we've got to dig into it, figure out what's real, and we want to do the best that we can to make sure that we are getting to the truth, the facts, and that we're not spreading stuff around that's convenient and feels good and feels true, and it is actually true.
I got one more quick one, real quick, before we sign off here. Okay, in the wake of the George Floyd riots, 272 New York police officers, a 49% spike over last year, have retired. Is that a real news story or is that fake?
Oh, goodness. I feel like I read that. Let's go with real.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's the number. 272 New York police officers retired, 49% over last year. Seattle, similar. Its forces operating at 65% capacity.
All right. Well, okay, thank you so much for joining us here on Radio Free New York. Fake News Friday will be back next Monday, same time, same place. Talk to you then.